Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Vito x DINO podcast. This is episode 49. Big deal. I wanted to, number one, uh, tell you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas. This is going to be our episode right before Christmas. So hopefully, while you're home getting ready to open presents and stuff, you will be watching us or listening to us at that point. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean Haspiel.
Dean,
Wait, don't
you
forget Hanukkah, and then
Yeah,
Kwanzaa
Hanukkah,
is
I was gonna say we're
after.
knee deep in Hanukkah right now.
Yeah, yep.
Kwanzaa, I think, started.
No, it's after. I think it's after Christmas. I have
Yes,
to
you're
look it
right.
up.
You're right. And then we have the Three Kings Day for all my fellow Puerto Ricans, and big holiday, big holiday. This will be on Monday. This folks will be watching this on Monday. I will be still in Pennsylvania for Christmas, but I will be coming back to New York on the 28th, and I'll be there for about 2 weeks. So I will be recording not from the luxurious bathroom that I usually record in, but somewhere else in my mom's house. Um, and Dean, I'm sure you will be. Will you be traveling at all?
I'm probably going to go visit my father on Christmas
Hmm.
in East Hampton, and then what I have done is then I go on the same day and drive over to Jen, my girlfriend's brother's house in New Jersey, West Orange, I believe. And so that's most likely what I'll be doing for
Hmm.
that day and a half, as it were, 2 days tops. Um, and I wanted to go visit my mother in Florida. Like I did that for New Year's last year. I was gonna maybe do it this year, but it looks like we're gonna push it either to February or March.
Okay.
So, and I'm gonna try. I would love to be able to have antimatter number one drawn and maybe even colored and lettered and wrapped basically before going to Florida is kind of like a little reward,
Right. 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 Right.
because that's it's on your back. I mean, you knock it out every day, one at a time.
Right.
Like sometimes these pages that took me one day to draw are taking me three.
Yeah.
So whatever, it is what it is. Um, and then I was going to mention one other thing. I have some breaking news, and I also
Yeah.
have some topics before we get into the really good stuff, which is you. And I'm really fascinated, and like this is becoming like a documentary almost, in like
Almost.
Vito learns to draw kind of thing.
What was
Well, by the way, cheers to
oh,
holidays.
happy holidays, my friend. We'll be doing this in person probably when I'm in there.
I was gonna say we might even be doing. I would say we could do one at my studio, but then we'd be in the same screen, and that's okay. Whatever, we
Yeah,
we could figure it out.
it'd be awkward, but
Should
uh,
I start with the breaking news?
yeah, please.
I just got a text, literally 10 minutes or less, and I'm just gonna flash on the screen for a second, just so anybody wants to. Oh, I don't know if you can see. You can't actually see the
I see
text
it
that.
says breaking news, but I don't.
Well, I just got a text from Roy Schwartz, and he wrote, "New York City Council just voted Jack Kirby Way into law.
There we go.
We got Jack Kirby, a street named after Jack Kirby in New York City, and I believe it's on. Is it
So
Delancey? I
it's
mean,
not the Delancey and just
like Essex or something. I don't know. I
yeah.
don't remember, or I'd have to look it up. I'm embarrassed that I don't remember the exact address. I don't think I've ever visited that address either, and I need to do that.
I've walked by there a couple of times. I remember I was meeting with you for something. I forget what it was, like in the like down in the I wouldn't even know. That's not lower. That's not even
Lower
like
East Side?
it's way before that. So like, there wouldn't be house like Soho. It would be
No, and it wasn't Tribeca. It'd be probably like lower in there or the East
yeah,
Village. It would
Lower
be,
East Side. Yeah, I remember I was meeting you somewhere over there once, and I had like time to spare, and I walked by there, and I was like, oh, it's an eyeglass store. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like
hmm
it's the
hmm
craziest thing, And I remember showing it to Michelle once when we were driving from the Williamsburg Bridge. When we drove into the city, and I showed her where it was. But that's awesome.
That's
My
awesome. Congrats. Roy Schwartz did a lot of the heavy lifting, and I feel like other people were also trying to make that happen. And so bravo to that. And I don't know. Listen, Seth Kushner has a Seth Kushner way in Brooklyn. You
yeah.
know, I remember going to the unveiling for that. Our old pal Seth Kushner. Um, and I'm going to bounce around here, and I'm sure you have a couple of things you want to talk about too. So I don't mean to cut you off, but you just wrote recently on Facebook today, 47 years ago today.
Yep.
Explain that.
47 years ago today, I saw and believed a man could fly. It is the anniversary, the 47th anniversary of the very first Superman film. And I was watching it, doing my little drawing exercises, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. But my God, the opening is still such a great opening for a movie. It starts in black and white, curtain opens, and it's a little kid reading a Superman comic. And then it goes into like the credits, and
I don't remember that.
it's so it still holds as an opening, like as an intro
Right.
to a character you've never seen on screen since the George Reeves TV show, I guess, but like you've never seen it like this before. It's not like he's actually in a harness and flying and doing all this stuff. Whereas now it's all green screen and computer effects. It just when the first time he appears in Metropolis, when he saves Lois from the helicopter crash, and then just flies around Metropolis not solving, but because it's not detective work, but stopping crimes.
Hmm.
Like such a like what a great sequence it is, and it's just a great intro to the character, and just he's such a great Superman, and like it's just
Well, he Christopher Reeve, the actor, believed
yeah,
in, and then he played him with a very important distinction. He played him like he was your friend,
yeah,
you know? And that movie, listen, there's a lot of great scripts, a lot of great lines in movies, but that has one of my favorite lines ever in a movie is when Lois is falling from the helicopter that's dangling off of the top of a
mm.
building, and Superman flies and catches her, and he goes something like, "Don't worry, I got you." And she looks up and looks down and looks back at him. She's like, "You've got me. Who's got you?" You know, which is
there's
fantastic.
that's a great line. There's say Jim, that's a bad outfit.
I don't remember that. What was that
So
from?
he right before that scene, he comes out as Clark Kent. He looks up, he sees the helicopter and everything. He goes to look at such a great sequence too. He goes to look at a phone booth, but the phone booths at that time were only half phone booths. They
That's
weren't
right.
like they were in like the comics and the TV show. So he goes through a revolving door and he spins it real fast and he comes out, and this pimp on a car goes, "Say Jim, that's a bad outfit."
And by the way, Jim.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you just called him Jim. That's so good. I
love
remember
it.
that. I remember that guy. That's
And there's
what
also
a
like,
great movie.
you know, who are you? And he says, a friend. Like another great line,
Right. Right.
like that we just associate with Superman. And Christopher Reeve, man, one in a million actor. I'll tell you that.
You know what's really weird? I just had a almost a blasphemous thought. I haven't read a lot of Superman comics in my life, and there are a lot of Superman comics.
Hmm.
And
Over 1,000
I'm sure. And then
just of
there's
Action Comics.
just about, yeah. And then I love All Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely because they really condensed the character into something understandable, like his legacy, his lore, his mythology, his purpose, his code. But uh I don't know how many Superman comics I've read where I thought, oh, the movie got it right.
Mm,
Do you hear what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I feel bad saying there's a lot of great Superman comics, but the movie, like that first Superman, got it right. You
yeah. I
know?
mean, I'd maybe this is the more blasphemous thought. I think the Gun movie got it right too. And I
Oh, I
think
think Gunn's movie, the first two Superman, Christopher Reeve movies. Listen, I love George Reeves Superman. I think
yeah.
they got it right. You know?
And I think
Um,
I think for a certain I think that Zack Snyder didn't get Superman right, but he got a type of superhero correct. You know what I mean? Like he did do something right. It just wasn't Superman. Like it wasn't like there's a I think there was a prevailing thought at the time that said that friendship and being kind and everything that that we've come to know as of Superman was kind of passe or just doesn't work in a superhero film. And I think that's what inspired, not inspired, but like that's the kind of environment that kind of fostered the Zack Snyder Superman. Zack Snyder Spider-Man would be freaking ridiculous too. But um but I think that Gunn proved that yeah, you can have these elements in there. You can still have a fun story. You can still have like, fights and all that stuff and and still have Superman. Um when you think about the first Christopher Reeve movie, he didn't really fight anybody. He's fighting against a system, basically.
Hmm.
And then like,
Hmm.
you have the second one where he's fighting the three Kryptonian villains from the Phantom Zone. So he's got something to do,
Right.
whereas in this last one, he's doing stuff. He's interacting with other heroes. Um, he's probably not Clark Kent as much as you'd want him to be, but even in that one scene where he says kindness is punk rock to Lois while the rest of the Justice League are fighting whatever it is outside the window,
Hmm.
there's still, I think that's a Clark moment more so than a Superman moment. So I think there's even like, I think Corn Sweat and Gunn really got the dichotomy and even the integration of Superman and Clark as being the same guy, just, one's wearing glasses, you know?
I listen, I enjoyed the Zack Snyder movies to a certain extent. I'm
Right.
not as hypercritical. I'd probably be more critical of a Marvel movie because I'm more of a Marvel fan and
You're
I
more
have
invested.
investment in like ideas in my head about the characters than I do DC. But we all grew up with Batman, the TV show, and the Superman movies and TV show as well. And so we all are informed by that. And I would say, there's a criticism that when Alan Moore and Frank Miller came out with Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen,
Mhm.
that grittiness, right, started to inform a lot of the comics that happened after, and the criticism is not that it informed the comics, but that the people who picked up the baton of that grittiness, let's
Mhm.
say, got it wrong. They didn't
Well,
get it right.
there was I might have mentioned this on the show very, very early on, but there was a concerted effort in the 80s, probably around Watchmen and around Dark Knight Returns, to say that comics aren't just for kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so everyone took that and just said, "Oh, good, we can do this now." And like we can, you know, show and have them say this and have Superman be on the side of Reagan and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of infected comics for a good decade, if not more. And that's not to say that there's no merits in Watchmen, in Dark Knight, in any of those.
No, there are total merits in the
Absolutely.
source material, just like there's this same thing happened with movies, by the way. Like
Yeah.
movies just got bananas. It got real gross, real like there's nothing hidden in films anymore. Like,
Mhm.
and to me, like there's an art form to certain limitations, not censorship,
Mhm.
but just certain constraints and limitations where you aren't supposed to, are allowed to, or you decide to not show, so you can be
Right.
more creative and artistic, you know, and including love scenes and violence as well, you know. But I was going to say about Frank Miller and Alan Moore, I feel like Zack's Snyder, like, he's not a dummy.
No, no,
He might have made some dumb movies. Okay, I've seen some. I'm like his new Star Wars pastiche thing is kind of dumb.
I
That
didn't see it. Yeah.
it's not great.
Uh,
And then he did what, Knockout or Punch Out or something like that,
Sucker
and
Punch.
Sucker Punch. Great title. I wanted to like it. It's stupid.
It's
Whatever.
visually fantastic to watch, but it
Yeah,
makes no sense. It has no
makes no
plot.
sense. It's
It,
dumb. Although I think his best movie ever is the one he did with James Gunn, which
Dawn
is
of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was gonna say he just pushed it a little too far in his DC universe, but I do want to see him finish it. I want to see those other two JLA
I don't know
movies.
that I do. I think I've seen enough, and I've said it uh, plenty of times, the Justice League, his cut of the Justice League, is a good movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
not awful. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
long movie to sit through and watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's very masturbatory. It's very self-congratulatory in a lot of ways too. Like
Mm-hmm.
just to
Mm-hmm.
you know have a victory lap that takes 3.5 hours to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard thing to just sit through, even if you're watching it on a phone or on your tablet or whatever. It's a hard, even in your bed, to watch. It's just like,
Right.
oh God, this is just, how is this still 2 hours and nothing's happened yet, or whatever, the case may be. Um,
It's funny you
but
said masturbatory, and I just have to quickly. I'm going to try and cover the working title, but I just finished a 100-page screenplay that I had two people read, and they had completely different reactions. Uh, pro and con, but like two very different sensibilities had very different, takes and small notes, which maybe I'll take in consideration. I don't know. I don't know what I just did here, but you do things that you can't help. So it feels like a jerk off session sometimes,
yeah, but in talking, calling Snyder and his work masturbatory, it's all flash and sub and style, very little substance. Like it's all lens flares and slow motion, and it's like, and he's done that since Dawn of the Dead, which, again, a fantastic movie. I used to watch that movie like once a month at one point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't think that
But he
you
worked with a guy who writes about heart,
true,
James Gunn.
true,
So it had more heart. Now, there are little moments of Zack Snyder's Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois, having little moments here and there.
hmm
Batman having little moments with Alfred, you know. Um, but when you do a team thing or like a versus, it becomes more about that,
do you
than
think
trying to build that team.
like I was thinking, as we were talking about the 80s and like the grim and gritty comics and stuff that came out, and you definitely see that influencing the Batman movie, um, to a degree, the Flash TV show, which Howard worked on, a couple of other things that came up, during the
Well, I
80s.
mean, the boys is a
Not even
direct.
not even there yet, but definitely you can definitely see that in Garth Ennis's, possibly, like influencing his idea of letting everything go with Preacher, like let's just go all balls to the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do you think we learned the wrong lessons from these things? Like, were they just supposed to be stories that we just like read and then just like moved on, like Watchmen? I think Alan Morris said that that's what he wished happened, instead of
Well,
everybody.
I think in retrospect is what he wishes happened. I don't think you can move on. It's like the whole idea of like letting the genie out of the bottle. You can't put the genie back in.
Right.
And then what you find out is that just like in today's society with our administration, I think more people like things that are not that are just more difficult, like
Mhm.
to like I think sentimentality has always been a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people.
Right.
And I'm a sentimental person,
Same.
and I think you are too, right? So, and I think James Gunn is. And James Gunn will throw every fart joke and do something gross as possible because he knows it's a fan service
Sure.
and we're going to laugh. But he always pulls the heartstrings. He
Yeah.
he sets it up for pulling the heartstrings at some point.
I mean, there
So,
was a point where that wasn't really a trademark of his writing. I mean, uh,
mhm,
the Rainn Wilson superhero movie that he did. Um,
super.
yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Hero or Super. That the Brightburn.
I haven't seen Brightburn, and I know
But again, it's like a dark Superman. So I mean, like there's some kind of, even in Dawn of the Dead, his writing, you don't know what's kept from the script to the screen when it's not him doing both. But
right,
even, like some of the, like, there's no reason to have a baby born as a zombie and then just have it shot, for no reason, like
right.
it's
I actually
kind of,
did a baby born, zombie born thing in my movie, and it has a total purpose. Uh,
but you know what I mean? Like, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
sentimentality comes with, maturity and being able
yeah.
to use it as a storytelling, not crutch, but a storytelling tool, like he
Right.
did with Guardians of the Galaxy, with the very first, opening before we even get to the opening credits, when he's Star-Lord is a kid and he's just sitting
Hmm.
there with his Walkman with him.
Do you know who James Gunn probably would have worked with in terms of actors had he been making these movies in the 80s and the 70s? John Ritter and Henry Winkler,
I agree.
like Hero at
I can see
Large.
that.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Like
It was
those are the
just on
kind,
TV a
those
couple
would have
days
been the
ago.
heroes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um,
But what I wanted to say was, like, when I look at my work, and I look at Stray specifically, but even the Mercury Chronicles, I think, had this as well. And I think, maybe it's not so much a trademark, but something that I'm as a storyteller, it's just something that I just tend to gravitate towards. Like, I don't go for like super, punching and like bloody and gore and stuff like that. And I mean, there's a market for it, sure, but like I don't want to write that stuff, and I don't want to.
well, there's nothing to write except unless you're writing, unless you're choreographing a scene
Right,
of violence. And I realized even in this new thing I wrote, it begs for, when you say, it's like the Chekhov thing. Like if you
right,
introduce a gun, the gun has to go off. So I've introduced certain genre things. You're expecting certain genre things,
sure,
and I did do that, but I didn't go whole hog like some stories will,
mhm,
because that's the road they're going down. And I agree. Like I think like John Wick is a good example. I like those movies, but like you could cut the violence at least in half. The
sure,
amount of violence happens, but people are going to it to see another way to shoot a bullet,
right.
right?
They're going to see that exact thing.
That's what they want, and so they're trying to do both. Trying to give a little story. He says four lines. He doesn't talk so much, and whatever. So it's just fun to look at. Um, I was going to bring up a trailer and a movie I saw.
Okay.
Did you see any movies this week?
Well, Superman. I didn't finish it, but I was
Right,
watching Superman.
right.
I started. No, I did finish it. I watched a movie called Parkland, which was an ensemble movie. Uh, it totally kind of blindsided me, not in the way of the story.
Is that
I
Richard
was
Price?
No.
Oh,
This is
you're looking up.
2023 maybe that it came out. I can't remember exactly, but I was watching a documentary about Parkland in Florida where they had the shooting, and I clicked out of it for some reason. And then I went and I saw another Parkland. I was like, oh, maybe this is a dramatization of that instead of a documentary, and it ended up being the Kennedy assassination and
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
all the
Came out in 2013. Yeah.
it was a really well made movie, well acted ensemble cast. Had a lot of different aspects to the story that I don't think most people consider, like Lee Harvey Oswald's mother being
Mm,
a raving lunatic. Um,
mm,
Jackie in the operating room, like just like some of the things she did, which I would imagine are part of public record, based on the witnesses and stuff. It was based on a book by Vincent Bugliosi, so like I'm sure it was well researched and stuff, and
mm,
even the things that were dramatized for the screen were still probably closer to truth than not. And it was
mm.
a really, really well made movie, and I was kind of taken aback by it. I'm a big, big sucker for old Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe, JFK, like all that stuff. Like kind of
Right.
basically anything that James Elroy writes. You
Oh
know,
yeah, James Ellroy
like
is the
that's all
best.
like my wheelhouse. So yeah, I
Yeah,
watched that. I enjoyed it. It's on Amazon Prime.
that sounds interesting. I mean, it's got a great cast and it was
Yeah.
produced by a bunch of cool people. So I'll check it out. The movie I watched was on Netflix, and it was the third installment of Knives Out
Oh
called Wake
yeah.
Up Dead Man. Right.
Okay.
And have you seen the first two?
I've seen the first one. Second one,
Okay.
I don't know why I put it off, but I didn't watch it. And
The second one's a lot of fun. It's
yeah.
really goofy.
Okay.
It's really goofy, but it's fun. And the third one, I think, is the best one yet.
Okay.
And I'm not spoiling it by saying that it's a murder that takes place in a church.
Okay.
because that's literally the trailer. Like it's in a church and there's a priest and there's eight who might have done it, people kind of thing. But what I liked about it was that whereas the first two was like chess pieces and stuff, this one really had like something of a story, like about characters, like that
Hmm.
was really intrinsic and important to the story. And I'm not religious, and it's very religious.
Really?
It's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
I think you'll get a kick out of it. And then did you see the trailer for, I keep thinking it should be called Full Disclosure, but for Disclosure Day,
No. What's Disclosure Day?
the new Spielberg film?
I didn't see a trailer for that. No.
When we stop talking later,
Uh-huh.
it looks great. It's another alien film,
Really?
I
I
think.
watched I watched the trailer today for I think Luc Besson Dracula.
Oh, does it look good?
I think so. I think like Christoph Waltz is in it. I think he's Van Helsing. It looks very like engaging. I can't
Okay.
put it in any other way other than that. Like they're the I mean it's a trailer, so it's hard to say that this is going to be the movie. But like the way the trailer's cut is just so like it really reels you in. Like
All
I
right, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I mean,
very
obviously Spielberg is a master. Like
yeah.
every frame is compelling, and I don't know, man. I had a very, I think it might have been in a dream. Well, Disclosure Day, when you see it, you'll be like, oh, okay, this definitely feels like a Spielberg alien movie, right? But then I thought about what if, and I can't be possibly spoiling anything because I don't know,
Right.
but how incredible would it be if you're watching the movie? Oh my God, I can't even do it. You're watching the movie and you finally get to that moment where like an alien, like they land or something or whatever and you hear dun, 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 like,
Close
and he
Encounters.
hip checks Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it just suddenly your childhood just snaps right back
Yeah.
into you, like,
Well,
and then you hear Elliot, and it's ET pops out.
how do we
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
E.T. and Spielberg in like twice in 2 weeks?
I know.
It's crazy. It might
That's
be
the
something
power
in the
Spielberg.
air.
Something's in there. Okay, and there's one I'm going to get to that's really sad, but I'm going to do that
Oh,
last,
before
and I
we
think,
do that,
yeah.
since you were mentioning Knives Out, I was thinking about Ryan Johnson the other day, and I was like, what superhero, like what property would I see him doing? And I was trying to I was trying to think of something that like would play to the Knives Out aesthetic, and the thing I kept coming to was Sandman Mystery Theater, or like a Golden Age Sandman story,
Right.
like something like that. And then out of me thinking about that, I wrote like an opening for a Hawkman movie that
Oh my
like just
God.
like I just like it's just fun to write, I guess, and like just kind of
It's fun
stretch.
to exercise. You're flexing.
Yeah,
It's
and it
an
was
exercise.
and
You may
what
use
it
it
was
for your own thing.
what it was is it started in ancient Egypt, and it was Hawkman fighting against another army, you know, but it was the voiceover was the flight of Icarus, which
Mm,
obviously is ancient Greece, and Hawkman is ancient Egypt. And when Icarus falls, is like the opposing army shoots a ton of arrows at him, and he falls and he dies.
mm.
And then it's all about the reincarnation and stuff like that afterwards. But like I have this idea of a Hawkman movie. I don't know why, but yeah. So I wrote this opening just to write it.
Well, and you may use it for one of your characters. You never
Maybe,
know.
yeah.
That sounds cool. And I was never a Hawkman guy.
What's funny is behind the scenes. I wrote Superman. I wrote a script for Superman Confidential that it ended up being put into a drawer. Ended up becoming Superman 676. Initially, that story was not supposed to be the story that I wrote. I was going to write a story about how Superman learned how to fight, and it was supposed to be, I think. two, maybe three issues for Superman Confidential. And the idea was that Hawkman is the one that taught him how to fight, because Hawkman being reincarnated and being part alien, or depending on which history you follow, he probably would have fought on Krypton at some point as a Thanagarian. So like I just thought like, oh, that'd be interesting to learn Superman's background through a fighting style that he doesn't even know, or something like that, right?
You
And
know,
the artist that I had pitched, Mike Ziegler, the editor, the artist that I pitched was you.
right, right. I
So you
remember
would
that,
have
and
drawn
I would not.
Hawkman.
I would have had to draw. I actually have officially drawn Hawkman in a Neil Clyde story
Oh yeah, yeah.
featuring World War II Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
Two things. You just said fighting style, and then there was something else. Oh, it occurred to me that story you never got to do could be your next bootleg, which would be a Superman
Mm,
with Hawkman.
interesting. Yeah,
But
yeah.
okay, and maybe do a condensed version or something, whatever to keep it, tight and cheap. But the other thing is, me and Mark Wade came up with an idea where I wanted to do a story where it'd be early years where did Lois know that Clark was Superman? I don't think she knows that Clark is Superman. So she loves Superman, and Clark kind of knows that,
Mhm.
but she has a crush on Batman. Okay, so it's called Crush.
Uh,
And then at some point, uh, they're like kind of don't like each other, or Superman's like, I don't like this guy Batman, and then he realizes he's Bruce Wayne, and he's like this rich dude, and like Lois is all like really interested, and this is not cool. And so they kind of have a scuffle, and of course Superman could kick Batman's ass just by flicking his finger,
uh,
like, but Batman is like, dude, and then there's a whole thing that happens with Bizarro, and Bizarro gets, I'm revealing some of the plot. Bizarro gets injected with a Joker juice or whatever.
mhm.
And what happens when a Bizarro gets infected with Joker juice? He becomes morbidly sane, and it's more terrifying, right? But it's, and then there's a whatever happens with that, and then but then Bruce Wayne has it on good authority that Lex Luthor is going to attack him with, I forget what army, and Batman's like, dude, you don't know how to actually fight. You have these powers because the sun, and it makes you strong and fly, but you
Mhm.
can't fight. So Batman, uh, irradiates a certain area. He gets a hold of some kryptonite and is able to like create an arena out in the streets where he can evenly match and fight, Superman,
Mhm.
and he teaches him how to fight, for this oncoming, attack that's going to happen.
Mhm.
So in a weird way, we were thinking the same kind
Yeah,
of space, which is always fun. Um, all right, so there are three other things, and then I want to get to you.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I talked about Parkland, which was
right, cool. Um, so this is just me being an old man. Apparently, there are some Avengers Doomsday teasers that are in theaters for Avatar: Fire and Ash,
yeah.
and
We mentioned that last week too. Yeah,
so people are going to movie theater to see a minute of a teaser
it's exactly what I told you was going to happen, and then walking out.
God bless them. God bless those people. And like, by the way, what I guess pisses me off is like, just show it online. Like, when did
Right.
the teaser or the trailer, and trailers come with trailers now? Trailers come with, oh, a 30-second ad that you can turn off in 5 seconds. And then there's a second one that shows up and you can turn that off in five. What is going on in the world, man?
This is
Like,
a
is it just,
minute, under 2 minutes, maybe like a minute 10 of a teaser trailer.
and
With
I saw the rip. Do you know what it is?
I know what it is. I didn't see it though. Like I'm very much. I'll wait till the Super Bowl when they show them
Well,
off.
I'll tell you. I mean, if you don't, it's no,
Yeah,
it's
you
out
can say
there.
it. I already know what it is, but good.
Basically, it's they reveal that Chris Evans is back as Captain America, and like you see a dude walking, some figures walking toward a house. He gets in the house. You see the Captain America uniform in his hand, and he like puts it down or something, and he walks over and he picks up a baby, and he pulls it up, and it's Chris Evans.
Mhm.
That's basically the teaser. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so he had a life with his girl, like the way the Avengers, ended with him giving the shield
Mhm.
to Sam Wilson to go Captain America. I'm going to go back in the past and live a different life. So good for him. And that should be fun. And there's going to be I think a bunch of other teasers, so they're going to just
There's
build this
one
out.
every week. There's supposed to be
But
one
what's interesting, and it's into the same movie or to different movies?
same movie.
Oh my God. James Cameron is like, did
He's
he
so
broker
happy
some
because
deal
nobody else would, there's no, he's going to make money hand over fist for this movie and no one's going to
just
buy
for
it.
that? That's
Everybody's going to say
crazy.
like, oh, what'd you go see this weekend? Well, I went to go see the trailers before Avatar. Oh, did you see Avatar? No, I walked out. Like no one's going to know what this movie's about,
Oh my
but
God.
he's going to make so much money.
But I'll say this, James Cameron is a good filmmaker. So someday, I'm just not interested in Avatar, but someday I will probably watch Avatar all three now. This is the third
Yeah.
one. And I will watch it for what it is. And I assume it's well done. I just don't
I
care.
don't care either. I mean, make it a cartoon. Maybe
Yeah, but
then
it
I
is a
care. You know
cartoon.
what I
It is a
mean?
cartoon.
Yeah, true.
Um, I just read on Bleeding Cool, Oni Press is relaunching Archie Comics. Oni Press,
I don't
a
understand.
different publisher that's not Archie, but it's not Archie Comics proper. It's Absolute Archie, which is something that's happening over at DC Comics. Is their absolute line of comics? What is going on, Vito?
No one's learning the right lessons. That's what's going on. Everyone's learning the absolute wrong lessons. You
It, it,
know,
it, it, it it's such a amateur mistake to be like, oh, what's trending right now?
yeah.
Oh, I know what's trending. And then Archie's like, well, we don't have the resources to do it. Maybe Oni Press can do it. So they license out Archie so they can do a DC comic.
And also, why would you do that when you just not just, but like in the past 10 years, maybe a little bit more, Archie's been doing these horror retellings of Archie, like thrilling tales of Sabrina and stuff like,
Yeah, they do
those are
horror.
great.
Paul Kupperberg did like 25 issues or more of Life with Archie that I actually
Right.
did a cover for.
Yeah, like
Um,
these are great. You don't have to. I don't know who thinks Archie needs to be reinvented. You know what I mean? Like why that wheel needs to be, redone. But like money just, you could have just thrown that money at me, man.
it's weird, man. Like, I mean, we're talking about it, right? But we do current events. We talk about
But
comics. What's going
but
on.
I'll defend us by talking about it because we'll forget about it until it actually happens.
Yeah,
It's not going
yeah.
to be something that we care about
Oh,
because
I'm not even talking about the merit of whether it's a good book or not. I'm just talking about
yeah,
like
we don't know who's
the
involved or
the,
anything
the
like that.
publishing plan.
Right.
Like, oh, I know what we'll do. And it's funny because like Oni Press has been doing EC Comics recently,
Mm.
and they seem to be doing pretty well. And I've only read one issue because Anna Senti gave me a comp copy that had one of her stories in it.
Mhm.
And I'm rooting for it. I think we should have EC Comics all the time.
Sure.
So, but Absolute Arch, and again, it's a stunt. It'll be a thing. Fine, whatever. And I don't mean. And again, I wish everyone well.
I will
It
say
just seemed
this.
to be like, wait, Oni Press is relaunching Archie with Absolute Archie. Okay, I got it. Just give me one more. Give me one more
I will say
thing.
this. If they go into it, if they do absolute Archie and they make Archie this jacked like dude with spikes and stuff, I'll pick it up. I will buy the first issue if you do that. Like, because
Oh my.
that's stupid, and I'm all about stupid.
Well, it is stupid, and it would be all about stupid in hopefully a fun way. But now we're kind of calling back in a way how you misinterpret Dark and Gritty by just going balls to the wall, right?
Absolutely.
Like you misinterpret Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, which was commentary not only on society but on comic books too, in
Mhm.
a way.
Did I ever, did I ever tell you my theory about Dark Knight Returns?
I don't think so.
My theory about Dark Knight Returns after reading it, maybe the fifth or sixth time, was that the story takes place in real time, meaning 1938 to or 1939, I should say, to 1988, right? So Batman aged in real time. So if he was 20 something then, he would have been like 70 or something, which is around the age that he is in Dark Knight. And so like it's Frank Miller. I don't know that this is true. It's just, I've never read anybody say it like this. I've never read anything that Frank had said that this is what it is. But it always felt like it was supposed to be the anniversary year of Batman coming out, like Batman being introduced. So it was been would have been 50-year anniversary. So I always thought that it was supposed to be set in real time. Like this is the exact age Batman would be if canon never, stopped. If it was like
Right.
if it was the straight through publishing. So
Frank Miller, and I'm trying to look it up right now, but he had mentioned how something about Batman getting old and how he didn't like that or didn't want that. I forget what he said. It was one of the reasons he did Dark Knight in the way he did it.
mm,
And uh God, I can't find it right now while we're
fine.
talking, but there is something about how he was motivated to do Dark Knight partially because of age and how I don't know if it's because he was aging out. I don't remember. Anyway, it's something to look up, and maybe we'll remember to talk about it next week.
Or sometime
Um,
another time.
right. So then the other thing I don't even want to mention, but we have to, is Rob Reiner
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
and his
sad
wife and his
situation.
wife and his child and his family. And you know, when I heard you told me,
Mhm.
I was watching a movie. I think it might have been Knives Out. Um, and you texted me and you said something like Gene Hackman and now Rob Reiner. I was like, what's he
Yeah.
talking about? And I thought, well, Gene Hackman died and he died a certain way. And then, you were talking about Rob Reiner and other people have died since, that we've talked about since Gene Hackman.
Right.
So, and it's a different way. Obviously, there was an unfortunate thing that happened in Gene Hackman's home,
Right.
where it wasn't a murder, you know,
Right. And I mean the
and you didn't
parallel.
even know what had happened. Like it was not
Right.
even sure. Like
The
they
parallel
had
that I
been
was trying
stabbed
to
to death.
set was that it was like a husband and wife like died under,
Mm,
auspicious means.
mm,
Maybe not suspicious, but at that point, auspicious.
right.
And
I
then
I
like
had
when the news came out, it was the craziest thing. There were like two people were killed at Rob Reiner's house. And then there were like two people, man and woman, roughly the same age as Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle, killed in Rob Reiner's house. Then they said Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered. It was just like the way the whole thing unfolded was just crazy.
Well, it's that whole breaking news and what you're allowed to legally say and everything,
Right,
and then to make sure 100%, and then you little by small. I haven't followed it all because I'm so sad and upset and angry, and it's because not only did Rob Reiner's wife contribute a lot to industry and society, but
yeah,
we all know what Rob Reiner did,
right,
and for his life to end that way, or their lives to end that way,
yeah, that's
and
awful.
and then we talk about mental health, and then I only have it up to listen. People can be pissed off at me. I only have so much I can give to mental health to when then you're slitting your parents' throats because you're mad at Bill Hader or whatever the hell happened that night at Conan
Oh my
O'Brien's,
goodness, what a that aspect of the story is crazy. If you
right?
don't know, Conan O'Brien usually has a holiday. He talks about it on his podcast a lot. So it's not like I've been invited. I just know that he does this every year. He has a holiday party, and the intention was let's have a party for the holidays that puts behind us this awful year that we've had.
Which
Um,
is also in the card I sent you that I made for you.
yes,
Yeah.
and thank you very much. I forgot. I wanted to mention that you sent me a card too, and I totally forgot. And the thing was, let's keep in mind Conan O'Brien's parents died this year, so that's kind of I think where he was coming from. Like he's had a bad year. Everyone's probably had a bad year. Let's celebrate. So Nick Reiner is going up to people saying these three questions: What's your name? What's your last name? are you famous? What a, like, to start like there, is just crazy. And then apparently, like the article I sent you, he and Bill Hader got into some kind of, I wouldn't say physical altercation, but they got into some kind of like argument or something like that. And then the
And then apparently Nick Reiner stared him down like, I'm gonna kill you, kind
yeah,
of, look or something. Again, this is all just us getting it from the
and it's
news, right? Or
hearsay,
whatever.
a third hand
Right.
that we're getting, but like this is just what we've been hearing.
And then I guess didn't go home and went and rented a hotel room or something, but in the middle of the night went and killed his parents and then went back home with blood all over him. And yeah, he did it. And now we have to talk about mental health. And I'm like, fuck this guy.
I
That's
think
all I have to say.
I think more importantly than talking about mental health is talking about how we talk about death. Because at the beginning of the week, when this has happened, uh, Donald Trump, who
Yo,
you know cannot speak. If you watched his thing last night, he can't speak on anything with any kind of
no
eloquence
truth,
or
no
taste.
eloquence, no truth, nothing.
And he just used his platform to basically insult Rob Reiner and his wife. His wife, who had taken his picture, Donald Trump's picture for his autobiography that he did many, many years ago. She's the one that photographed Donald Trump. You'd think he would have some kind of empathy. The guy has none whatsoever. All the performative Charlie Kirk stuff that he's done is all performative. It's just all an act. And to the point where they're like, we will prosecute anybody that talks, about Charlie Kirk's death and makes fun of it or anything like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're supposed to be the proponents of free speech, and like, yet you can't accept that somebody would.
And meanwhile, Rob Reiner, like, not defended Charlie Kirk, but said you don't kill Charlie Kirk for what he has
Right,
to say,
right. And he said what
and
he
defended his right to be an asshole.
and he defended his wife for like he's like what she said at that. And mind you, the thing that he's talking about was this weird wrestling style, like, tribute, ceremony following his death, which was disgusting and gaudy and like in an arena with people and fireworks. Like, what are you talking about? Nobody celebrates a person's death like this. Like, there's nothing private about that. And meanwhile, Rob Reiner said what he felt for his wife, who, in the weeks since has been on a real tear, but like, the less about her, the better. It just shows you that class doesn't cost anything. Taste, being tactful and stuff. I would love to be able to shit on my enemies when they die, but I'm not going to because that's not who I am. And I've said it a million times. When this guy dies, I'm not going to celebrate outwardly. I will, be able to take a breath for 5 minutes before the next jackass comes in and ruins everything. But I'll take that breath and I'll cherish that breath, and it'll taste better than any breath I've taken in the last 16 years. So
You
that I
should you should
think.
put that in a comic. Everything you just said right now, you should put
Oh
into
well,
one
it's
of your
public record,
stories.
so we'll be able to go back and
That's
listen to it.
great. That's great, dude. But I also think about, like, again, what these people in the contributions they make, and I'm not saying your offspring is supposed to do anything like what you did at all. I'm not talking about that.
Sure.
And clearly something was wrong, and clearly he's an addict. And my brother, I believe, was an addict. And the thing I did learn is that you can't trust addicts. I'm
Right.
sorry. And I have addict friends, but when you get older and you start to see the signs and you start to interact in certain ways and you get burned a lot, they cannot help themselves. I and but some but most don't go to, oh, and now I'm going to murder.
Right.
They're usually very self-destructive. They destroy everything around them, and it's really sad. And I try to be the best friend I can be, up to where I just can't get too hurt by it myself.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
so that's
Addicts.
protection.
I've always said that like once you're a junkie, you're always a junkie. Just like once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. Once even when you're in recovery, you still like what part of the recovery process is to recognize that you have this issue.
This
So
issue. Yeah.
even as a positive, like even when you're in rehab and even when you're, like on the right track, you're still a junkie, and you have to keep that in
Right.
mind
Right.
so that it keeps you honest. So it's not like an insult to call somebody like that has had a drug problem a junkie, still while they're clean. Like they would probably be the first one to say that. And it's just getting to the point where you can't, the behavior is inexcusable. Like there's no reason to kill anybody really, but like, realistically, there's no reason to, you know, whatever his issue is, I'm sure that his parents tried to get him help. Like I'm sure of it. Especially, do you understand that when I saw that Rob Reiner had died, I didn't know about his wife at that point, until I, clicked on the link or whatever. But up until that point, when I heard that he had died, I was like, oh my goodness, is this because of the Kennedy podcast that he did? Because he had done a JFK podcast in 2023 at the anniversary of Kennedy dying or being assassinated, and he revealed who he believed or was the were the not was the gunman, but were the gunmen. Like
Hmm.
he named names and everything, and I'm like, that's the kind of thing, and I think he even acknowledges it in the podcast, maybe slightly, but that's the kind of thing that would get somebody killed back in the '60s. Like if anybody tried to like speak up about it, they ended up being like, "Hey, man, you were in the big book of conspiracies that
Hmm.
Paradox Press put out, so I'm sure you've read it, and I'm sure you've read all the conspiracies that were involved and everything, like that other than the one you drew."
Written
So
by Jonathan Bankin.
yeah, so to me, it was like, ooh, this is just like all that other, like anybody that talks about Epstein sometime, like somehow turned up dead, like in the past
Right.
couple, or Vince Foster with the Clintons,
Right.
all these
Right.
different, so you don't want to believe conspiracy theories, but you always keep your ear open because as a storyteller, they're fascinating. Like when you hear a certain thing and you hear,
Sure.
different things, you're like, I could use that, or I could make, I could turn that into something or whatever. So the first time, the moment I heard that he had been killed or that he was dead, I thought it was something to do with the Kennedy podcast. Isn't that weird?
Because you didn't think of him dying like natural causes or a
No,
car accident. You thought he got
the
killed.
Spinal Tap, uh, the new Spinal Tap movie just came out, so like you wouldn't, associate that he was like sick or anything because you would have heard about it. But
Right.
like, it was crazy.
It's bad. And again, I'm not trying to step on people with mental health issues. I think actually we all have mental health
Yeah,
issues.
I agree.
Sorry. But I can't take more of this. I can't take more of uh yes, let's find out what's wrong. What happened? Why'd you do it? Like, is there a reason? What's going on through your head? Like, of course, like, but then and again, I don't even know how I feel, but like somebody does something terrible one night
Mhm.
and then you pay for it for the rest of your life, right? I believe in redemption. I believe like let's turn it into something good. Like, maybe Nick can do something good. And I can't even believe I'm saying this right now, but that's the hope. Like, what can we learn from this? But at the same time, the gorilla inside me is just like, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean,
How dare you?
I remember Marlon Brando's kid,
Hmm.
like, and all the stuff that he killed somebody and then he killed himself, I think, like
Hmm. Hmm.
just all over, like it's just, you know,
And that's the famous thing. When he was saying, "Are you famous?" Like, I, not knowing anything, my
mhm.
instinct was, "Oh, he's fucking with his parents because his
Yeah,
parents hang out with famous people."
right, right.
Like, and he's not famous, right? So he's like, "Who am I?" Kind of a thing. And again, I'm just literally making it up.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
what?
you're riffing.
Yeah, I'm riffing. So anyway, all right. Listen, let's turn this into a positive thing. I sent you a copy of How to Make Comics the Marvel Way.
Uh-huh.
You flipped through it. Have you ever looked at that book? You
I've
have, right?
never I've sold the book plenty of times. I've probably flipped through it and just I think I mentioned this last week too. Like when I had first, come across the book, I didn't consider myself, wanting to be an artist, so I didn't think there was anything in it for me. Like I was like, oh, I should probably better get a writing book or something, or something along the lines of learning how to write. So I've never really, read it to the point now that I read it. I started reading it and then I stopped. And like, if like I sent you a text today with me just drawing shapes, like
Hmm.
just drawing you and Steve Walker. I sent like I'm drawing shapes because now I'm like my brain is starting to think like that.
Hmm.
Like it's not an overnight thing. Let me backtrack just a second. So whenever I draw something, I draw like these little simple things. You know what I mean? Like little simple shapes for it to be a body or whatever. Not stick figures per se, but not too far from it. And I've never really looked at the relationship of the world in terms of circles, squares, and triangles. Do you know what I mean? And then you look at it and you're like, oh, a foot is a triangle, an arm is a cylinder, and like you start looking at these things in a new way, and like I, it's not out of the like out of pocket to say that my brain couldn't handle more information than that. And like since I've read that, I've been very consciously looking at shapes. And like I don't want to move further in the book. I just want to like focus on shapes and looking at shapes in a new way because it's like when Sadie was learning how to read, how she learned how to read was she would look at logos for like stores like say Walmart or McDonald's or something like that, and she would just automatically go, "That's Target." You know what I mean? She didn't know how to read, but she knew the shape of it and everything around it were the letters that made up the word Target or Walmart or whatever. So I'm trying to kind of get that kind of thinking now in terms of shape and solids and stuff like that, like in terms of like drawing, just trying to like look at it from a different aspect. And it's a trip at 52 years old, man, to like look at something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
With
awesome.
new eyes. And it's it is what it
I
is.
should revisit it as well because you get rusty or you forget. And like
Yeah,
what's interesting about like the tubes you're talking about, let's say, that can make up a body, a human
right.
body. At the end of the day, it's all proportion and you don't have to stick to it at all, especially if you're drawing like weird action,
Yeah,
and where someone's doing, like there are all kinds of drawing styles, but it's a good fundamental,
sure, sure.
so and then I I want to get to the layout last because of where that's going to go. But
Yeah, yeah.
I asked you to do an exercise where I think if you remembered, it was to do a portrait where you like take a picture of your face or whatever.
Mhm.
You draw a 2 minute version, a 1 minute version, a 30 second, and a 20 and a 15 second, right?
It was 2, 1, 30, 15. Yes,
15. Did you do that?
I did.
Can you show me? Okay, here we go. I know this is a podcast, so it's a
Right. Do you see
so
it?
so the first one is to the right. No, the 2 minute is to the left.
Yeah, you'll
See?
see the numbers on top.
So that's you taking 2 minutes to arrive at that,
Mhm.
which is pretty good. And what 2 minutes allows obviously is more detail,
But and
one
as
minute,
you're saying that,
yeah,
the other thing you don't, it's like film. You don't realize how long 2 minutes is. 2 minutes is really a lot of
it's
time.
really long. It's
Like,
really long.
like it's you like I found myself noodling trying to
Yes,
do more stuff to it because it was
right.
2 minutes. So I was like,
Well,
oh,
so had you been more of a seasoned artist, you might start playing with more shadows and
mhm,
detail and find another little nitpick here or there or
right.
whatever. And then the 1 minute is basically the same. Um, and then 30 seconds is like quick, and then 15 is like, a circle with glasses
15
and
is unfinished. As you can see,
yeah.
like I didn't even get to finish the mustache
Well,
there.
because you didn't get the mustache in there. Now,
Yeah.
obviously the lesson learned is to, and in this case in your drawing style that you have already,
Mhm.
I would say the 2 minute one, which you said you had extra time,
Yeah.
uh is pretty close to like maybe a cartoon version of yourself,
Right.
you know
Right.
um the 15 second really is just to get down the essentials, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why, and 15 seconds is hard for everybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you're trying to figure out what do I look what is it essentially about my face you know?
Mhm.
So if you did this a few times, you might find a 15-second version that's a little more successful.
Right.
But that 2 minute version, which you said you had extra time that you didn't necessarily need,
Well, yeah, I mean, like
is really good.
I could have fixed the glasses. They're a little off, like not off center. What's the word I'm looking for? Like the one lens is bigger than the other. You know, like they're
Right, right.
proportion wise are off. But yeah,
What
like
did you learn? What did you learn from them? What did you? How does it feel? Like, tell me about it.
um, the one thing I was thinking was 15 seconds. As much as I was saying, like 2 minutes, a lot of time. 15 seconds goes by before you know it. Like it's
Before you
almost
know
like
it.
you blink twice and it's gone. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So I feel like the goal is to get um the 2 minute drawing
Yeah.
30 seconds. Like
Down to 30. And you
and
kind
what
of
I'm
did that. You did do a pretty good job of getting 2 to 30. Like
right.
it's all there. I mean,
Sure.
bald guy with glasses and a mustache is really what you're drawing. But
Right.
is there a nuance that you can find that makes it more of a Vito?
I
That's the
don't know that
goal.
I don't know the answer to that, but again, like the thing about and what I'm really saying is that at 2 minutes, say a year from now, that should not look like that. But
Hmm
30 should look like that. You know what
hmm
I mean? Like there should be a different aspect of something that I've learned over a year that would make the muscle memory in my hand do the 2 minute one in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
If
And
that
and
makes sense.
especially if you're like signing a book
Right,
and you want to do a little drawing, that's the 30-second drawing you'd
right,
be doing,
right.
So absolutely. No,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And again, it's such a fun exercise because it's true. For some reason, the 2 minute version, a lot of people who don't draw very well or a lot find that there's a lot of time on their hands because they could only go so far anyway,
right, right.
you know?
And like I said, like
So,
what was really funny about the 2 minute one is that James was in the room and he was asking me what I was doing, and he's like, why are you timing it?" And and I'm answering him, and with the 2 minute one, I just was able to like turn away and like
sure, sure.
so obviously, and I'm not saying that like, oh, it could have been better. I'm just saying that
Right,
there was so much time in 2 minutes that
right. Totally.
it you don't think of it like that. You think of 2 minutes as being something that's just like that, but yeah,
Right, right. No, it is a fascinating, and again, I think this is from Linda Berry exercise. I
yeah,
know
I think you
Josh
said that.
Dufell,
Yeah.
yeah, Josh Dufell told me about it, so I've used this a lot for like young artists.
Mhm.
All right, cool. And then I don't know if you want to show another.
I don't think I have it on my computer, but let me see if I can't send it because I definitely had it on my because I texted it to you, so I know I have it
So
on
you
my
texted me,
phone.
so I don't know if you want to show the other thing that we're going to talk about.
I don't.
Okay,
Only
I
because
think you're right
that is a
about that.
very I'll talk about it though, like
We'll talk about it.
while I'm trying to find it. Um,
So Steve Walker tasked you to do a layout, a
let
one
me
page.
let
Go
me
ahead.
give
You
context to
talk.
who Steve Walker is.
Yeah.
Steve Walker is an artist in his own right. He's also a teacher. So when I put out like an art, what is the Artist League?
The Art Students League.
Right,
Steve Walker is a teacher of comics at the Art Students League, and he's also a comic book artist that you
right.
collaborate with.
I'm working with him on Pay the Devil. I've worked with him on Actionverse. He actually did the last issue of Actionverse with us.
When
Uh,
I saw him recently, I'm going to put this cover up. It's
yes,
called In the Public Domain. This is a cover that he drew, where he published a bunch of his students' comics from the Art Students League.
right. So when I put this up, I tagged a couple of people. I tagged you. I tagged Ray. I tagged Matt Major, and I tagged him. And I think I tagged Nate Lovett as well. Just I don't know why Nate, but like Nate and I feel like I learned stuff from Nate anyway. And I wanted to tag people that I thought would number one be interested, but number two, more importantly, could give advice, and like share something with me about doing it. And I got advice from people I didn't tag, like Kari Randolph, like
Mm-hmm.
a couple of different people. So I feel like I got the right people, at my back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so what had happened was Steve gave me an assignment to draw 6 panels, and he's like, draw a guy or yourself or whatever going to a bodega to get a coffee. And I have the image now, so let me just
Okay,
put it
cool.
up real quick. And you know, he gave me 3 days to do it, and here is what I came up with. So let me see if I
Yeah,
can.
describe the six panels, and then I'll tell you what my criticism was, but afterwards. So
Right.
you go
So
ahead.
what I have is I have in the first panel I have somebody walking along the sidewalk, which unfortunately he's not on the sidewalk. He's like flush against the wall. But again, first time I've ever done anything like this. So he's walking towards the bodega. Second panel, he is paying the clerk, you know, like he's got $1 down on the counter, saying, like Word Balloon would say, 1 coffee or whatever. Uh, Panel 3 and panel 4 are kind of like, I don't know if you would call them establishing shots or whatever, but it's basically the coffee pouring into the coffee pot, and then panel 4 is the coffee being poured into a cup. Panel 5 is Dean's favorite panel because Dean goes, I don't know what's supposed to happen here, and he's holding the cup of coffee. I don't think I rendered the coffee cup in his hand, very well.
Right, you did not.
And
Yeah.
then in panel 6, he's drinking the coffee, and I told Steve, I said I struggled with this hand on the cup for about an hour, and then I just grabbed one of my action figures, put it in that pose, and I was like, oh, okay, I see,
And that's why it's got a kung fu
yeah,
grip
yeah, kung fu grip.
on a coffee cup. So what's fascinating?
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm choking and dying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, it works as a layout. It's about as pedestrian and bare bones, and I would even hazard boring, except for the close up of the coffee cup. Pouring coffee into the server and then serving into the cup. That's like the most action you have
Mhm.
here. And the reason why I was calling out panel 5, I was like, narratively, what is happening here now? If there's a guy walking into a coffee shop ordering coffee, you see the coffee be brewed, poured, and then being drunk, which is panel 6, how it ends.
Right.
Panel 5 begs the question: is there something else going on in this narrative where he's thinking something? Could he be looking at someone? You don't have enough information in that panel to
Right.
justify that panel, if that
Right.
makes sense.
And I know
If
what
he's
I was
being
going.
handed coffee, then fine. And it's just, again, A, B, C, D. It's like, I order coffee, coffee made, coffee pour, coffee
Right.
handed to me. I drink coffee, right? Like,
I know what I was going for in that panel, and I know exactly why it looks like that, like why he's standing that way, why he's looking off to the side. I know exactly what he's doing, and I didn't. I screwed the pooch there.
tell
He's
us
supposed
what's
to be
happening.
waiting
Yeah.
for the bus. So it's supposed to
Oh,
be at a bus stop. So I didn't
so
draw
it's
the
a
bus
jump cut.
shelter.
It's a jump cut to
Yeah.
like from coffee being poured and
Right.
being to then see. That's what I asked you. I said panel 5 needs to be something else in this one
Right.
page narrative where it yeah, a jump cut is great. Maybe he has a thought that takes longer. Like if he was thinking in all 6 panels
Mhm.
or monologuing or something, then and if the monologue needed that break on panel 5, then maybe it could work. But to me, it's fairly successful except for panel 5, which is again just calling it out. I'm
Yeah.
asking you a
Let
question.
me
What is
let
it?
me read to you what Steve said. He
Okay.
said, "Nice work for a first page. Love the shot of the coffee pot and the pouring of the coffee. Hey man, I got something going. Good storytelling there. The figure proportions are good and consistent. Nothing out of whack. Even the arm that you struggled with reads as what it's supposed to. Now I want you to draw it again, which is my next assignment. Pay attention this time to moving the action left to right across the panels, and do your best not to centralize your figures. So, in other words, like put them
Yeah,
all
everything's in the middle except for the first panel.
right.
Everything is in the middle, and that's actually something that we learned in just painting class. Like
Hmm.
if you centered everything in painting, after a while, like what the hell's going on? Oh, did you ever see? Oh God, it's not the Feldmans. What was the Spielberg memoir?
Yeah, I think it's not the
Fableman, the
Fablemans.
Fablemans,
That's it. Yeah.
because like Fable's a story. And then at the very end, spoiler, the young Spielberg meets a famous director played by David Lynch, and he gives the kid a tip of where you put the camera.
Wasn't
You
it
remember
John
that?
Huston, right?
John, or was it
No, John
Ford?
Ford. John
John
Ford.
Ford. And he gives the kid a tip of where you keep where you point the camera, and it's a great scene,
Yeah,
and it's a good rule. And again, the more you advance into how to draw comics the Marvel way, you're going to find that John Buscema would do a lot of Dutch angles just to make a domestic scene look interesting.
right.
Now, what's interesting about panels 3 and 4 is that there is action. There's coffee being brewed, and there's a pouring of a coffee that like that to me, and the way that's how I would have laid that out.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if panel 6 I would have had his straight on version. I might have done a side view of him
Right,
drinking. I don't know,
right.
whatever. Um, and but ultimately, for someone who's not drawn a lot of comics but written a bunch, I, you said earlier you didn't think you were supposed to look at how to draw comics in our way because you don't draw.
Yeah,
But actually, I would say I would tell every comic book writer to look at how to draw comics
I would
tomorrow way,
agree. I would 100%.
because then you're going to write comics thinking visually.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think it was Matt Major said it when I announced that this was something that I wanted to, try to focus my efforts on. He's like, you already have a visual language because he's read my scripts. I think is what he said. Like, I've read your scripts. You have the innate ability to tell a story.
Mhm.
And one of the other things too is about this page, and I'll take it down here in a second, is that I intentionally didn't want to put words on it because I wanted to make sure that the storytelling was
Mhm.
coherent enough without the words. Like one of the things that I remember, in the '80s, there was this very phenomenal comic that came out, written by Larry Hama, called GI Joe issue
Yep.
21. It
Yep.
was subtitled Silent Interlude. And at the time when you saw it as a kid, not with very few, if very little, um, designs on making comics at that point, like you saw it and you felt like you were cheated a little bit because you didn't know, but you knew what the story was. And then you're like, oh, well, Snake Eyes doesn't talk. So it made sense that it would be silent, and it was great.
Mhm.
And what you didn't realize at the time was that was an exercise in storytelling.
Yep.
Like, it was just, can the image tell the
Absolutely.
story without the words, and it totally did. And that's one of the things I was trying to make sure that I, kept myself honest about.
Right.
In this was, can the story that that I was given, can I tell it without word balloons or any kind of thought captions or anything like that? One thing I will tell you, and we're probably going to get into this in a second. I don't know why I forgot ears that existed, but I did in every aspect of this. I forgot ears existed completely. So
What do you mean? You forgot mine existed. What do you mean?
no, I forgot ears existed entirely.
Oh. But so I said to you when you said that, because of another thing that we'll talk about.
Right.
I was like, I don't draw ears in layouts
Yeah.
unless it's a close up of an ear,
Yeah.
like
Good
then you,
point.
you indicate an ear. But
Yeah.
you are just drawing stick figures or little balloon people, or whatever the hell, one does. And, like, I mean, listen, well, for the sake of this podcast, like, these are my layouts, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see.
That was another thing I have to say, like, looking at your layouts. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit so people can
Yeah,
actually.
no, what I'm saying is I'm I'm just showing like 4 pages of layouts that I need to figure out. In fact, I changed some of this when I went to the page, realizing there was something wrong storytelling wise. And like that's this is the hardest part of comics right here,
And I've
you
told you
know?
before, I would read an entire comic of that. Like, it's the craziest thing. I love your layouts. But
Thank you. Thank
one of the things that when I started doing it, when I started, going on that first panel, literally first panel,
you. Yep.
I started drawing it and I go, this is entirely too big. Like, my drawing. Like,
Oh yeah. That
and
that
I was
tends to
like,
happen too.
and I
That
was
tends
like,
to
I
happen.
gotta control it a little bit. I gotta, like, make it smaller, make it not necessarily more compact, but just like I want to it's an establishing shot. No, the first panel is always the establishing shot.
And
So I
and
want to give as much information as to who's there, what's there, where they're going. Like on
uh,
the first
I'll
panel.
fight back on one thing. Sometimes the first panel is a close up. and then you go to
Good point.
establishing.
Good point.
But
Yeah.
that's movies, that's Howard Chaykin, that's insets. That's something I've used a lot to kind of like as a transitional panel. It's awesome when you can go to a close up first and you
Mhm.
go, "What just happened?" And then
Right.
you pull back and you realize, "Oh, I'm in a different scene right now."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But like I just
um,
wanted to make sure that like when I started drawing, I erased the whole thing. I was like, wait a minute, no, I want to make sure that I have it. And that's the thing I like about your layouts is that they're smaller than even what I drew. You know what I mean? Like
oh, you drew like 8.5 by 11 paper.
yes, yes.
You know
So
how big that you know how big those layouts are? Each
that's
one
probably like 3 by 2 or something
three
like
by
that.
two.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I would
That's right.
just like my brain was just like, you got to go, get smaller, get smaller, get smaller.
No, and again, this is your first one, dude. Like you're halfway there.
Well, don't say that.
You know.
Okay, so now
Uh,
let's get into the big thing
all
because
right.
this thing,
So
whenever I'm not going to show what we're going to talk about because it's such an egregious thing that when I did it, I was just like, I can't believe this is what happened. Anyway, go ahead, Dean. You should start it.
it kind of it made me ill, and it just confirmed stuff that's going on in the world today. And it also I sent it to Miscavige, who then sent it to three other artists, and it kind of sent shock waves. And he was actually saying, "Thank you, Vito. Thank you for showing this to me because it confirms certain things, is startling in other ways, and also weirdly enough, you, Vito Delsante and Chris Miscavige don't need us anymore. In fact,
Right,
but not aesthetically, but in fact, if that makes sense,
right.
right?
So,
So what you did is you put the your layout,
mhm.
your rudimentary layout, into a program. Do you really want to mention it?
It's Google's Nano Banana.
Nano Banana.
Yeah,
And I don't even know if you
actually,
wrote
it's
any other prompts.
Google Gemini Google Gemini is the AI um, app of Google. So
Okay.
Nano Banana is just like a photo or image AI app
Okay.
in it. So I
Okay.
should say it's Google Gemini.
So and just correct me if I'm wrong. You just put the layout that we just looked at, or did you add
Yeah,
any other
let me
information?
see if I think I said something like render this, so that um, I see what it looks like finished or something like that. Let me actually open it up because Gemini is not something that like I use Gemini a lot, if only to get character designs to give to artists to kind of riff on. So,
Right.
so what I wrote was render the art on this page so that the storytelling is more professional. That's all I wrote, and that was the
Wow.
page that you just saw.
I
So,
mean, I almost want to show folks what happened, but what
I, let me
what
just
ultimately happened is that it made a comic book page. It was fully penciled, inked, colored.
yeah, here it is on
You
my
have to go a little
phone.
closer,
I don't know if
and it's a little blurry, and it's a little
let me get the
like
light. Yeah, like there. Like I don't
you
want to
can
show
kind
it.
of see it. You can
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't want
see
to
it.
show it to, because I don't want to encourage the bots
Right.
or the
So what
algorithm.
happened is that you like literally, unless you're discerning and care, it was fine. It made a comic book page, and
Right.
I meant to ask you how many seconds did that take?
I couldn't tell you. Not many. Like maybe
Less than a minute. Less than a minute.
definitely less than a minute. I
So
would say less
pop,
than 30
boom.
seconds.
All right. So
My 30-second like guy, I had like I
mhm.
probably got that before I even got that.
And not only did it two things it got one thing it got wrong. Well, two things it got wrong. The first panel is an exterior shot, and it rendered as an interior,
Mm,
but it only had so much to work with,
right.
right?
Thank you.
And yeah, and then it also drew your character without ears, which is
Right.
why you had that comment about I should draw
Right.
ears. Which I'm like, you don't have to draw ears for layouts. And then it solved a little bit my issue with panel five by at least giving it the environment it is. I still narratively don't know why it's there,
Right.
but it added stools and things you didn't
Yes.
draw.
Yes.
Like, and it's fine. You know what? I'm not trying to diss Oni Press or Mad Cave or a whole bunch of, but it could be published by Mad Cave.
Sure. I mean,
If
like
it had been drawn by human hands.
if a human being drew this, then yeah, I could see it being like published by like a smaller end, if not.
Absolutely.
In fact, like I could probably self-publish it and it would be fine.
It'd be fine. And so part of the bigger conversation is uh people who will be using this uh it's really not necessarily the people who create it, it's the customer and the corporation,
Right.
not necessarily the creator. Although, and I'm not here to slap creator on the hand. I don't care. Go ahead. If you want to draw like that, you want to type in something and have it pop out some drawing, fine. Listen, we have different versions of that anyway, like since before this. So so for me, I kind of had a little existential crisis after seeing that, not only because I had long conversations with Miscavige about it, and then with you a little bit, and
Mhm.
now more. But also, I was like, why am I? What? I mean, I know why I'm sitting here drawing and struggling,
Right.
drawing somebody sitting down and handing something to somebody in an interior bus shop. Like I'm not explaining the story well to you. I'm just saying that's like one of the things I had to draw
Right.
it this week, and it's taking me so much longer when really it could have taken 12 seconds if I wanted to use the aid and the tool of AI, let's call it,
Right.
right, for lack of a nano banana, whatever. But so I'm sitting here going, well, then why am I doing this? And then like, what is the future? And what side of the aisle am I on? Am I on the autonomous, authentic aisle? Who cares? Like, will people care? And then am I selling my comic or am I selling Dean Haspiel drew this with his hand comics?
That's a very interesting way to put it. I mean, let me just go back and just, like I wanted people to understand where I'm at with AI and using AI because I actually mentioned it in my Substack last week. Like I use AI as a tool to give to other artists to interpret. And one of the most important things is I pay artists. That's this is a free program. Like I'm not paying anybody for this. Maybe we can calculate the costs of it, in quotes, as being something greater or less than whatever. But I'm talking about actually supporting the arts. I work with my artists. So there's that. But I always, like the I don't want to say temptation, but the idea that I've always been kind of circling around was always that I can't make my language clear. A really good example of this is when I was doing Stray with Mueller. Marcello Mueller is based out of Brazil. His English is not his first language. He barely understands the references that I make, even when I put YouTube clips or any kind of link to something else that would make it clearer. Like the amount of times that we had to go over a page 9 or 16 times, where like I drawing layouts, where I had to draw for him what I was trying to, because I would figure art would be the common denominator, just like music is. If I draw it for him, he'll understand. And it was like this 2-page spread of a fight in a prison that someone had like it had to be like very cause and effect. Somebody sliding across, they kick a table and a piece of the wooden leg comes off the table and they use that wooden leg as they're sliding. It's like, I'm breaking it up. I'm not doing, actions in a panel like you're not supposed to. I'm actually, explaining it well, and like he's just not getting it. And I'm like, well, this is the movie that I kind of, am basing this idea on. And he's still not getting it. And there's a frustration when dealing with somebody that they understand, like they will eventually understand what you're saying, but
Mm-hmm.
the amount of work we're putting into one page at this point after 16 iterations of it. Thank God you're working digital because you can at least erase it a lot easier than getting a new page. You know what I mean? A new piece of
Mm-hmm.
paper, and it's frustrating. And so as a writer only, it's so helpful to like give somebody a design of something, whether it be a building, like a villain headquarters, or like a character design, and just go, if you use this as your template and like riff, please, because I don't hold these things to be precious. It doesn't have to be this exactly, but this is an idea of what we're looking at. And guys like Matt Major and Lee Gaston, who I work with a lot, David Jackson, another guy, like I give them these designs and they are able to just like, yeah, I know what you're looking for, but let's try this and, like go with this instead. And like exactly the reason why I'm using these tools. All right. That said, and I would like that said, I would never. I think I tried to once and it was like an abysmal failure. And I was like, yeah, I can understand why. I would never sell anything that was AI generated. Like I said, I tried once and it was very early on before it became an issue with comments. You know what I mean? Like this was 4 years ago and it just did not go anywhere. I still have the stack of prints that I did because I figured, oh yeah, this will be a good thing to try. And it was like based on Blade Runner, do androids, do you remember Electric Sheep, that kind of thing. And do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember what this looked like.
I have.
Uh, I'm
Oh, it's
sure
in
I've
the other room.
seen it, and
Yeah,
I'm
it's in the
sure
other
I was
room. But
like,
anyway,
whatever. Yeah,
and the thing is, it's like as these things have become more prevalent, almost invasive, because every time you look, there's another website, AI website generating, art or video or whatever. And they're just more, and there's another one. Oh, if you like Sora, try this one. If you like this, try this. And it's just like, whoa, man, like slow down. Like it's just
you can't trust anything you see online anymore. You
absolutely
literally
not.
can't. And I know that
Absolutely not.
sometimes they label it like, and you go, "Oh, this is AI," but sometimes they don't.
Right.
I was
You
going
had
to react
sent
to
me, you had sent me a video on Instagram, which I thought was hysterical, but I knew it wasn't real because it was
right.
a bunch of cats farting and
Yeah.
shooting themselves in the air like rockets. And
Right.
so it's like obviously that's AI, but like if you were to if that video had been just cats licking each other, you would have to sit there for a couple minutes and go, I'm not sure what I'm looking at
Right.
is real or not.
Right.
My wife has been very funny. I think it's hysterical. If you look on her Facebook page, you'll see it. But she's been taking pictures of the elf on the shelf for the kids
Right.
and then doing videos of them, and they come out hysterical. Like they're awful in the
Right.
sense of
Right.
like one time they had like four arms, and like
Hmm.
just like that's not how that works at all. But that's what makes them funny. So they're not
Right.
real. But my God,
Right.
like
Right.
just like little tweaks, you're gonna get there. And like,
And I hate to say it, but our current president talks about fake news all the time, and that's the
right,
one thing he kind of got right, and including him, he perpetuates fake news all day
yeah,
long. Anyway, um, so
go
I
into
can
what
understand.
Miscavige said, what you and Miscavige had gone, like what he had sent you and stuff too.
I'll get to that in a
Sums up.
second, but I
Okay,
was going to say, ironically, for you deciding, oh, I want to learn how to draw, and I understand. I feel like half the reason we might have said this last time is because you're waiting on artists
right,
and you have to pay artists as you do, gratefully and thankfully. But you have like 6 books you want to publish next year. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
And so like, can you self-produce a comic, which is part of this exercise and this study, is to get to that place where my instinct, it's more of an autobio kind of. I don't know if you maybe you can draw some action,
Right.
but like we'll see where this goes. But I do think it is galvanized or inspired by the fact that you have so many projects that you want to do, that you also want to take full command of at least one of them.
You know,
You know,
in a weird way,
and,
the
and just to finish the thought though,
yeah, I'm sorry.
and then you're like, oh, what would happen if I put this through this little app? And you could literally put out a graphic novel tomorrow
Right,
if you want.
right.
Anyway,
But what I was going to say, what's very funny is in a almost counterintuitive way, I've taken the ease and convenience of artificial intelligence generated art and decided I want to draw. Like that's I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work. You know what I mean? Like I'm 52. I should just be like sitting back and just being like, ah, screw it. You know, like I'll just do it like this and just feed it through the machine and just let the machine do it. But
Mm.
I'm weirdly, I'm becoming more not autonomous, but like more like willing to, like I said, with the imaginary conversation with Matt Major, like, what do I do next? I don't know, learn how to draw. And so that's
Learn how to
exactly
draw.
where I'm at, you know? So
Because, but I
it
think it's
had the opposite
because
effect.
well, and that's great, and I love that because I hope that happens more and more and more.
Yeah.
Like that, you look at something, you go, I wish there was like a comparison. Like what else is like that? Where you go, you look at it, and you go, you look at the cheat version,
Mhm.
not the real good version,
Mhm.
but the cheat, and you go, oh, I don't want to do that,
Right.
but now I really want to make it for real. You know,
Right.
I don't know what that comparison is, but uh, and I remember having a conversation with Gene Ha of all people,
Oh, wow.
who's awesome, incredible artist, top 10 May, I think was a
Yeah.
comic series he did. He's telling me, like offering me how, oh Dean, you're really good at layouts. And I'm like, thank you. I pride myself when I can pull off a good layout. But the thing I do know about my own art style is that I'm not nearly as good a draftsman as I'd like to be, or maybe not as good an inker or something. I don't know because sometimes I do pencils and I'm like, oh, I really should just publish these.
Yeah.
And then I go ink it and I've reduced it, you know, and I've taken
Mhm.
away something, some of that energy. And, you know, there's the energy of the layout, there's the energy of the pencils. And yes, there should be energy in the inks.
Mhm.
But for some reason, not that I deaden my work, but like and sometimes once in a blue, there'll be a flare, you know. But these days, as I've gotten older, I literally am tracing.
Yeah.
Like I'm,
Yeah.
and like, I don't love that, you know, but whatever. Um, but, you know, I think that in your case, like you're trying to take full command and I totally get that, man. That's what I'm doing, you
Mhm.
know, basically. Um, but uh to what degree and you know with like you said but with class and respect,
Right.
you know, and all that stuff, so I commend you for that. And so something I showed you back as a reaction
Mhm.
to your rudimentary layout that then turned into a comic book page in 12 seconds,
Mhm.
you know, that could use a tweak, a little finesse maybe, but it's done, it's publishable, you know. uh Miskevich took like one of his scripts that was pretty detailed description, put it through the thing, Nano Banana,
Mhm.
and then he got a photo version of for like a screenplay, like a movie version.
Mhm.
And then he took that picture and he turned it into the comic book version, and it's great. And then he took another one, another script about the apocalypse and newspaper headlines and this and that and every detail, and he put that through the damn machine, and boom, pop. There's
Yeah.
another great panel.
If you remember when you sent it to me, I was like, it even got the fact that even though it's like positionally wrong, geographically wrong, like it was supposed to be of Union Square, and it had Best Buy and Barnes and Noble on either side.
Right,
And the only thing is wrong is it put it east and west when they're
right,
north and south. And
right,
Best Buy doesn't exist anymore. But
right.
like all you got to do is just like switch it
Yep,
around, and like it's just like,
yep,
oh, that's like photo realistically accurate, the
right,
positioning of the two places. But like because I knew they were in Union Square, and because they had like that little like gazebo kind of entrance to the subway, you
right,
know exactly where you are. So it's like the AI, the artificial intelligence knows you said Union Square, New York. This is what's there, and
right.
it populated it there.
Yep. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about artists that are, you know, sit at their art tables or their flat tables or their lunch tables or dinner tables or where, you know, cafes, trying to, you know, make comics to the best of their ability. Some people draw in a more spare style so they can crank out more pages. Some people draw more rendered. What, it doesn't matter. And then, you know, the customer, you know, is attracted to a cover and then opens up the comic and like looks at inside and, you know, hopefully something appealing makes them want to buy it. and that's ultimately the sale. And is it because you know that the artist drew with pencil and ink, or these days digitally? It's a digital world we live in.
Right.
And was it generated by a machine that had been prompted? Do you care as the customer?
Yeah, two things I want to say. Like Jim Lee and I think maybe CB Cebulski, but Jim Lee very publicly denounced and said that AI would never be in a DC comic. No AI generated art will ever be in a DC comic, which is a credit to him. And the other thing that just occurred to me while you were saying that was this: that how long does it take to read a comic? Versus how long it takes to make it. Like I think about like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who I don't think he draws pages as much anymore as he used to, but like I think about what an absolute professional he is, what a craftsman he is. When he works on something, it's like I don't care how long it takes. When it's done and it's beautiful. You know what I mean? And then like you think about the person that bought that book, and it's just like boop, 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 okay,
Yeah. On to the next.
and it's like
And by the way, that is what's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to
sure,
think how long it take Jose Luis
no,
Garcia
no,
Lopez to draw this, pose or this incredible layout or whatever. And I think about Garcia Lopez, who like, oh my God, incredible. He is the Michelangelo of
yeah,
comics, right?
yeah.
But then I think about like at the same time, Trevor Von Eden, who
Mm,
was like doing some weird breakout shit like that, like is and then Keith Giffen doing some weird stuff at that same time in the
yeah.
80s, right? Like and they're all great. And there's a master, and there's the radical, and then there's the subversive one. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
and they're all great, and you can like all three, right?
But
But I do wonder how intimidating a Garcia Lopez is. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna try and go the other route,
right.
and,
Well,
and, and that's fair too.
what I was going to say was that like yeah, comics are supposed to be disposable. They're supposed to just be like read and then given away or, put in a box, rolled up in your back pocket, whatever. Comics are not supposed to be these like we're not printing money.
Things you slab and never look at again.
Right. Like they're junk entertainment. It's fine. It's, whatever it is, like we treat it like fine art because it is fine art. But, like because it's so disposable, there could be an argument made that, well, since it's only going to take a couple minutes to read, why do we have to like spend so much time working on them? You know what I mean? But I feel like going back to Garcia Lopez, it's like the absolute joy I feel when I read one of his books. Trevor Von Eden, another one. Dennis Cowan, who's now going to be on Nightwing. Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, they just announced it today. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was a news bit, but Dennis Cowan is going to be drawing Nightwing, and Dan Waters, who I think you met, the
Yeah,
writer of
yeah,
Nightwing,
yeah, yeah.
he was describing it as Nightwing's Born Again, which just gave me like I'm getting goosepimples thinking about it.
Ah,
So like,
ah,
yeah, I'm going to read that. And why
yeah,
am I going to read it? Because of Dan Cowan, because Dan Waters said the right words at the right time about the
right,
story.
right.
And like, it's like one of my favorite characters. Like, so yeah, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to appreciate it for Dennis doing Dennis, like it's not
Yeah,
Dennis through a machine. Like it, and that's the
yeah,
thing that
yeah,
I think we have to always remember is that machines are heartless. They're only as smart as the guy programming it. And maybe that guy doesn't have Garcia Lopez's like aesthetic, so
right,
it's never going
right.
to have that. It's going to get close. Some point it'll get really close, but it'll never have that. Like
It, it, it,
it'll never be George Perez inked by Dick Giordano. You know,
or Romeo Tangal,
you know what I
like
mean? Like it's never going to be that. And then
no,
that's
it's not. But Vito, it's going to get so close,
it's going to get
and
close, and that's the warning. Like just like I don't know that you can feed in a prompt to like a video AI thing and get a Steven Spielberg esque type of shot or a J.J. Abrams type of shot with a lens flare and all that stuff. Going back to Zack Snyder, I don't know that we're like AI can do what he does. Like it or not, there's a distinct style that Zack Snyder has, that Spielberg has, that Del Toro has, and I don't think AI can fully replicate that, and it's because of heart. and it's because of like actual homegrown talent. And
Right.
it is going to get close. And that's the warning, I think, to everybody listening and watching. That's the warning of AI. It'll get close, but it'll never get there. So you just have to keep plugging away. I'm 52 and I'm learning how to draw.
Right.
There's
Right.
your answer.
No, and I love that. And I think that you'll feel more fulfilled with that journey and that challenge. And I
Do you want
what
to know what my dream project is if I could draw it from front to back?
right.
Not just layouts. Like I've said, like last week, my goal is just to do layouts, just to do competent, almost Dean Haspiel level layouts. That's my goal, right? However, if I were to draw a book from beginning to end, it's not autobiography, but it's based in reality. It's this story that I wanted to do with Steve Walker, but if I get to the point where I feel like I'm capable of doing it, it would be what if the Black Dahlia killed Marilyn Monroe before she was Marilyn Monroe?
I mean, Norma Jean
Yeah,
killed her as Norma Jean. So
yeah,
it's before Marilyn ever happened.
right. Like before the start
So
of
is it the calendar? Like it's got to be the calendar.
what do you
She
mean the
when
calendar?
she's
Yeah, when she's doing the modeling, you mean? Yeah,
when she was naked in the
yeah,
calendar.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
called something dreams. I forget what it's
Right.
called. And trust me, I know a little bit about
Dean's
this.
dad is probably one of the most foremost Maryland
He
scholars.
is the expert on
Yeah,
Maryland and knew Maryland the last 8 years of her life.
right.
Uh, why don't I remember the name of the calendar? But anyway, so right around, see, the way I'm helping you out with the story is like it would have to be
She was living on an army base. I've already, said it. She's living on an
right.
army base. Her husband at the time was in the military, but I think he was like out of country or something. And the killer is not who you think it's going to be. Like it's I'll text you in a second with a name that of who the killer actually is, and it makes a lot of
What year?
sense.
What year is this?
I want to say it's 46 or 47. It's the same year as the Black Dahlia killing, but instead of Elizabeth Short, it's Norma Jean.
And so Black Dahlia, so Elizabeth Short doesn't get killed. It's a Black Dahlia story.
Right, right. But
I almost
instead,
want to guess before you send it to me. Oh, you sent it to me, and I'm trying to guess. Did it play with time?
in terms of like
Is
it's
there a time machine
no,
situation?
no,
It's
no, no.
not. It's not Jack the Ripper.
No, it's
I'm gonna look.
historically accurate in terms of where everybody
What?
was. Yes,
What?
yes, and there's a reason why, and it's
Wow.
actually historically proven why that person could have been.
What?
Yes, well, not that he was the Black Dahlia killer, but he was in that circle of everything happening.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay,
let me, yeah. But it's
okay.
just an interesting little wrinkle to the
That's
story.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's okay. Yeah,
that's
you
the
should.
story I
So
would
you
write.
want to draw that?
I would love it. I would love to.
Wow.
There's not much action. It's very
It's
visceral and very
conspiracy talking.
mental.
Yeah,
A lot of
I get
talking
it.
heads. Yeah. So
So what you would do, I mean, what I would say to you is,
sorry,
because it's not.
everybody.
Sorry, everybody, but what this is part of the learning lesson. Is like,
Yeah.
I hate when people ask me to do likeness, but what you can do is something symbolic.
Right.
So you draw each character to have a certain symbol, a square, a circle, and a
Triangle.
triangle,
Yeah.
and you could literally do that if you wanted to, and decide that those are the characters that are talking to each other,
Mhm.
and it's symbolic at that point. You
Yeah.
know,
I
like
mean, I wouldn't go so far as to Asterios Polyp, David Mazzucchelli, like get abstract with it, like I legit want to do this as a book. You know what I mean? Like I really want to make this as like I wouldn't call it my magnum opus, because that would mean that I was dying. you
yeah,
know? But like I really want it to be the thing that
right,
stands, once
right,
I'm done.
right. Well, shoot. I mean, I don't think we should go into verses this week
No, no,
because
no.
we're but like I don't know, man. I think this is a the beginning of some kind of documentary of you learning how to draw.
I mean, I have, it's weird because I hadn't thought of that as being something to work towards, like, but it is now. Like, it's something that I like. I would like to work towards doing like layouts for it definitely. And if I could do the finishes or do the inks on it or whatever, I don't think I'd ever be a competent enough.
Well, you start with a short story. You start with something doable and to see how that looks and how that feels
Right,
before you're doing the quote magnum opus type
right,
thing,
right. You
That
know,
that's the yeah.
the I wouldn't say inspiration, but like the thing that I look back at and think about in terms of something like this is Monster by Barry Windsor Smith. Like this thing that was just this long gestating thing that just like I think was supposed to be a Hulk story or something, like or
I
like
need to get that. I need to get that book.
it's such an amazing book. And like I just think back to that book and I just think, if I could do something not of that magnitude because I would never put my name in the same breath as a Barry Windsor Smith,
Sure.
but something that for me I build up to that and I have this thing that's done and there's a book of it, and then, whether people like it or not, it's just printed and, you know, people review it poorly or people review it positively, whatever the case may be, just it stands under its own merits and it's there, you know?
You know, I don't care how you draw something. Obviously, you wanted to convey story,
Yeah.
but I do think because we've always talked about comics is story. For me, sorry, it's not pinups and poses. It's
No,
story. It's
you're
narrative.
absolutely right.
That if the story is strong enough, it will prevail. As long as you're not blowing it in the art. You know what I'm saying? Like the art can be rudimentary, it can be primitive. In fact, I love primitive comics. I'm jealous of primitive comics because I think I would crank out more comics if I allowed myself to draw a comic in my layout phase, if that makes sense. I've talked about
Yeah.
that. So like rock out with your cock out, man. Just do this.
I love that phrase. I wonder what your book that didn't take a couple of months to do, but took like an entire year to do would look like. Like, because
You mean if I
you were talking about how like when you ink, you feel like you lose something. So like, what if
oh
you
right.
went to a different method to do something long form?
Here's the dirty secret, and I suspect it's true with C.C. Beck,
Hmm.
who drew Shazam back in the 1940s and 50s and 60s and 70s. Um, I can render.
Yeah, no,
I know how to render. I know how to add shadows and cross hatching, and I choose not to. But there is underdrawing in blue pencil that when I don't erase it, if you were to look at my original art, you'd be like, oh, there's a little, wait, why didn't he ink that? Because I didn't need it. I
there
chose
was.
not to take
I
it.
don't remember if it was you or if it was Steve. I think it was you that said, "Draw everything you want to put on the page."
That was me.
Yeah, you're like,
I
draw
said to you, draw like render, render, render. Don't worry about it. Be squiggly, weird, whatever. And I need to remind myself of that because I am also trying to be perfect with
Mhm.
the blue pencil. And the blue pencil is what I use, is meant to try to find the drawing.
Right.
And then with the ink, or and I told you, a lead pencil, let
Mhm.
the lead pencil be your inking tool.
Right.
Because inking can get funky. You can get that's a whole other thing to deal
Mhm.
with, like a line weight and all that stuff. So
I
just
there.
play with a pencil as a finish.
Yeah.
So play around with like trying to find the what you need in the blue pencil, and then you choose what you're going to quote render
Mhm.
as your line art, final art. But like that's what I mean. Like, and I've seen it with Chris Ware. I've seen it with lots of artists. These
Mentioned.
guys know how to draw, and they've shown it. They've done it in their sketchbooks, and then they go, "No, I'm going to reduce it into this comic book format."
I think that was probably the best piece of advice I got this week. So I figured I wanted everybody to, who's
Oh,
watching to
thanks.
hear that. Like, just do everything in blue and then let the pencil kind of be your eye, I guess.
And I think about scanning. In other words, you can take a photo and you can see the blue and you can see the other elements that you draw with.
Mhm.
But when you're scanning something in, it's weird. Whenever I scan a page in and I see all this other stuff, I scan in and it only picks up the black ink,
Yeah.
and then I have that ready to then go and color
I
and then
think
add other value.
like I was saying before, like I just been practicing shapes for the past couple of days because I've always just not assumed, but just like went into like whenever I would draw something, I would just go into it and just draw it. You know what I mean? Without worrying about like shapes and where things sat in a 3D plane. So like if you look at that page that I put up, the bodega is just like this weird like awning and it looks like nothing like an
It's not a
actual thing.
bodega at
Right.
all. Yeah,
Right. And then thanks Nano Banana, it's the inside of the store instead of the
right,
outside. So,
right.
it is what it is. But you know what I mean? Like had I and since I'm going to be redrawing it this week, had I done everything in blue, like you were saying, and then went in, like, because I did some blue in there. It's just that I just did like, just drew
Sure.
it, but like actually, using that as a method is a really good idea. And I'm proud, I'm very happy that you told me that.
Well, and also it's funny because I think I also told you that I think what would be really cool, and this is not possible. I know some artists who can do this and they're incredible, is to draw a committed line, meaning I'm not futzing around with blue pencil. I'm taking ink and I'm
Yeah.
putting it on the blank page and I'm drawing a committed piece of artwork,
Yeah.
you know?
That is something that is, I've seen people do it. I think Eric Larson does it. And it is the most intimidating thing I've ever seen. Like, there's a there was a Korean artist that I think would do that as well. That passed away, I think, last year.
Yep. Yeah, that
I
guy
forget his
was
name.
famous for that.
Like
And
it's
he
just
passed
like
away. Yeah.
it's
What,
just
how are
oof.
you able to think that way? And
No,
sometimes when I'm either drunk or lucid, you can do that. And it's not perfect. It's not about perfect. It's
no.
about you made something that looks like what it is,
But that's the
like
thing that's intimidating is that you can't go back and fix it. Like you're committed.
right.
You know what I mean? Like it's there. Like you
Yes.
cannot go back and do it. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I don't know that I could ever. Uh,
No, the thing
I
is,
think there's a
Vito,
there's a
that's how
certain.
you were no, but that's how you were drawing before you learned how to draw.
That's a good point.
And as an artist, what I'm trying to do is try to get back to drawing how I drew before I learned how to draw.
Yeah,
And learning is a whole thing because it's a discipline. It's a study. When I was a kid, I wasn't studying anything. I
yeah.
was just doing. And I feel like that's, Kyle Baker is close to
Yeah.
drawing in a style that feels like a kid in a warehouse, in a candy store,
Mhm.
like who can do anything. And if I can take my layouts and then use ink to commit to a rendered line that's a little more sophisticated, let's say, that's the sweet spot. If I
Yeah.
can figure that out, So anyway, I
Oh,
think we're both on the same kind of journey.
absolutely.
I'm just 40 or
Weirdly
50 years
enough,
ahead of you.
you might. What's weird though is that like you were saying, I should reread how to draw, and
Yeah,
so I feel like you're almost, not entirely, but almost living vicariously through what I'm experiencing right now.
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this is the end of the show. This is our last show before Christmas. So, Dean, Merry Christmas. Thank you for the
Merry
card.
Christmas.
I will see you in a couple of weeks. We will see you next week. We're going to be doing a live episode for episode 50. We're still trying to figure out the scheduling, but we will announce it very shortly once this goes up. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Vito.
And good night. Yay, yay.
Hey, Jay, Jay.
It's cold. Yay, yay. Good night, everybody.